Hello and welcome back to the channel. This is lab sheet number 1 component location video for Automotive 240 by Peyton and Christian on a 2000 Buick LeSabre. We will be going over components and describing each one of them. Let's just start right off. This is the under seat fuse block and under the rear seat, and circled is the fuel pump relay. And now we move to on the frame under the rear driver door. I had to kind of fish for this one. This is the fuel filter. And also, while I am on this, I will say that we could not get a picture of the fuel pump. It was in the fuel tank under the trunk, I believe, is where all data said it was.
Here we can see a picture of the PCM, which in 2000 they put it in the air box. You can see that the engine coolant temperature sensor is located right under the thermostat to be able to detect temperature changes. Here in this photo we can see 3 of the fuel injectors, which there are 3 on the other side, on the other bank. And then you can also see pointed at the fuel pressure tester fitting. In this photo you can see the EGR, which is located on the top of the engine towards the back. This here is the O2 sensor, which is on the second bank, and there's only 1 on this car. In this picture, even though we were not able to get a picture of the NOx sensors, I have drawn out where they are located on the bottom of the block.
In the lab sheet, it says to locate PCM fuses. I found 2 fuses labeled with PCM. PCM battery as number 8 and PCM ignition as fuse 19, both 10 amps. And here there's a lot to take in. I'll start from the top. There is the intake air temperature sensor. There is the mass airflow sensor, the idle air control valve because it is drive-by cable throttle body, and a throttle position sensor. This is all on the throttle body casing. And then for these next 2 sensors, we move down to the front of the engine. This is the crankshaft position sensor, and next we have the cam position sensor. And I guess I'll add a little description here. Both of these sensors work in unison to figure out where the engine is at and correctly produce spark and fuel timing. And here towards the front of the engine, as in behind the radiator, we have the manifold absolute pressure sensor on the front of the engine. Next, I will show a video of us going over the PCM pin outs and each of their functions. Alright, here we have the PCM pin out diagram. On the part 1, which is the top 40 connectors, we have control circuits, we have sensor grounds, we have reference signals, and sensor signals.
And here on the second part of the connector, we can see that it has injector controls, ignition control, a couple grounds, and then some transmission inputs.
And back to this picture, a little bit of explanation about this PCM. It is a top and bottom plug, so 40 pins on the top and 40 pins on the bottom. Not all of them are being used. And next we'll be transitioning into more videos and watching the PIDs list. Here we are watching the vehicle warm up, and we are keeping an eye on the PID list to see which ones have changed so far.
So far we've seen the MAF change, coolant temp, ignition, it's advanced a decent amount now. And that's all that's really changed.
Awesome. Okay, now we're going to increase engine RPM, and after that we're going to put the transmission in drive and see how the PIDs change. Now he's going to put it in drive. Alright, so which PIDs have changed?
So when we gave it gas, the ignition timing It advanced up to 32 degrees, and right now at idle it's at 23. I watched the coolant come up. The map went up too. And then when I gave it a lot more gas, the short-term fuel trim, that dropped down to 0, and then the long-term stayed the same.
All right, cool. And next on this lab sheet, it tells us to select a particular input sensor on the vehicle and locate the PID for it and use the scan tool to identify it. So that is what we will be doing on the intake air temperature sensor. Right now we're looking at the PIDs for the intake air temperature sensor, and I'm about to unplug it. So I'm going to walk around here and go to unplug it. There we go. Now what has changed?
It's currently negative 38 degrees.
Oh, that's pretty cold, isn't it?
Yeah. Just
All right.
a little.
Awesome. So we have unplugged it, and we are going to try to start it again. All right, crank it. Here it is. Starts just as normally as it did before. Now, there are a lot of malfunction indicator lamps on this dashboard right now. So we do not really know if it's set off a malfunction indicator lamp. I can only imagine that it would, but right now we have no idea. All right, that is the end of lab sheet number 1 component location video by Peyton and Christian. I hope to see you on the next one. Bye.